I mean, like, to be honest, like the conversation about the music industry is dead is I can remember that conversation happening since I learned how to read.
Yeah,
Like, ठीक है, कभी जिंदा था, मुझे कोई ये भी बता दे, please.
yeah,
And like, so for me, a lot of like, there are a lot of facets to like how I've approached this in the past like 5, 6 years, especially. In terms of like actually doing something, I think I have like so much respect for Zara and myself for like managing the LMM because it was just that. It was a lot of people complaining and us just being like, okay, ये करना है, ठीक है, ये जरूरी है, let's just do something, कुछ बन जाएगा, उसका fit है, नहीं बनेगा तो वो भी fit है,
yeah,
कुछ बन गया, it's nice, it's not huge, again, it's not going to be like the biggest festival in terms of like numbers and this and that and like
sure.
monetization and all of that, but like it's a meaningful space where, you know, anyone who comes and says music is dead, we can be like, please, the shoe fly, right? So like that's the point of like, a, that's possible, we did that as college students, so
Yeah,
nobody has an excuse,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
really truly. Yes, it gets tiring, it is very exhausting to constantly be doing this, especially without like any kind of infrastructure or ecosystem, which are words that everyone is talking about in terms of what the industry is or it has not been. um it keeps evolving, but the like, and I've been very grumpy and like, you know, angry about this as well, because you do get exhausted, and then people
Yeah.
coming and saying, if you do this then ye ho jayega, agar ye bhi karo to wo bhi ho jayega, then you do all of those things and it still doesn't work, and you're like, okay, then what's the solution? But what I love is that all of these like under 25 musicians coming up and taking everything by storm. People
Yeah.
like Manu, people like Hassan Rahim, you know, artists like Amna Riaz and Mehek Qayyum. Like again, like even if they're not getting like some of them are getting like mass following, and
Oh
like
yeah.
they have people at their at their gigs who are singing along to every lyric, and like honestly, and young stunners, oh my god, amazing. Why? Because these guys are also not corporate back. So wo wala argument is out. Okay, these are the post-corporate
Yeah.
kids, right?
Yeah.
And I love that because that is like what is energizing me, because I'm like, oh my God, it's possible. You know, we dreamed of this day and we can see it happen and the numbers are showing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great to be able to see that. And so having them as case studies is more than enough for everyone to just be like, okay, guys, do
Yeah.
this.
The past like 2 3 years, I think, have really, maybe three might be too much, but at least the past 2 years,
Yeah.
because in Pakistan, I think there was a small like blip in the Musharraf times when there was actually ARG records or Fire records and
Hmm.
all that. We
Hmm.
might have something. Then it went
Hmm.
away.
Yeah.
And for like 20 years before that and 15 years after that, people were still like, Kash hamare paas record label hoti hai wo, but nahi thi. But now
Hmm.
in the past like social media years, 5-ish years, and especially in the past
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
with so
Yeah.
many people on Instagram, TikTok especially, um, you know, maybe our generation was still thinking of like Kashi Hota terms, but oh,
Yeah.
maybe there's this. Yeah, Hassan Rahim, Manu type people, they're like, this
They've
is
just come
their
and done
time,
it.
and they're like, fucking, yeah, yeah, obviously it's here. They don't have those hang-ups that those people had. But
But I do think that I will give credit to the people who've been struggling for the past like 10, 15 years. Like if you're looking at like a band like Sikandar Ka Mandir, right? Like I am a huge SKM stan,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Still need to make it so much bigger than they have. And they've done everything, right? They've got the videos, they've got
yeah,
the, you know, songs, they've got the, you know, everything sorted. They like wo ek generation of like Lassan kids and like, you know, all of that, that Storm in a Teacup vibe, all of them, like they, like these kids can run because they like
yeah,
walked,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
including myself, right? Like
Mm.
if I had not seen those guys live and see them do what they were doing, because that was a breath of fresh
They did a
air,
tour, like
right? They did a
Pakistan
whole
tour.
tour. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And that's like unheard of still. That isn't, and again, not backed by like massive sponsors or anything of that nature. So like I think that again, timing, technology,
yeah,
you know, YouTube bans, nothing really making sense. You know, like there was a lot going on. And I agree with you, in the last 2 years, kafi kuch hua hai, because early 2020, it just felt like there were too many gigs to choose from, which was a first. You know, like
mm.
her weekend, you're like, kaun se gig pe jaye? And it's like,
Really.
what a wonderful problem to have.
Mm.
You know, and then like on like obviously Corona happened and everything kind of shut down and everyone's still revamping and trying to figure out what to do, which is a bummer because we finally got to that like breaking point of like having live music back again, if not like a whole, you know, industry.
Sure.
So that was like a wonderful little space to exist. So like it was a very hopeful time, and it still is. I really something that
I
people
was
even
quite
during the pandemic have
surprised
carried on.
when I spoke to Yehi Kashmir Wale boys,
Mm.
and I was asking them what the situation is with like live music, Kasina, and they were like, we have this term now, band culture, wapas aa raha hai. I don't know what that means, but like
Mm.
I think they meant like live music was happening
Yeah.
again, and people were
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
shows, going to shows, and way because when you leave. Those expat Pakistanis that left like in the 80s, and that's the Pakistan they left. I have that
Yes.
same problem, but with like 2010, where like
Okay.
things were bad music wise, and that's the Pakistan in my mind all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it clearly is getting better and emotional. हो रहा हूँ मैं सोच के इस बारे में.
I
But
love it.